Alright, so what happened there? Oh no, I just saw my I don't know how much of that I don't know how much of that got captured. But I presume I'm probably gonna upload that. It's only like 11 minutes long, but I'm not gonna delete that because of the fact that the man I was just hanging out with, I thought he was dead. I mean, assuming that there's a conscious being that's keeping up with some of these videos. There was a couple days when I was walking by this gentleman's house, and I keep on saying, I think this guy's dead. That was him. Oh, Shem, thank you for the cigarette. I didn't even realize, again, that was one of those moments where I wasn't expecting to find a cigarette. But it's good to see that he was still alive. I was kind of worried. He's an older gentleman. Last summer, well, I mean, I think it was like last summer and the summer before. There's a lot of years of fucking walking by that dude's house, going for these walks, like, eventually started waving. How you doing? And then, one day last summer, and this tends to happen. Like, the dude, he's like, hey, want to come have a beer? All right. It's like, we always wave. Cool guy. Shared his pot with me a couple times. I appreciate that. Where were we at? Intrusive voices. I don't know what people do with intrusive voices, and that's what I was dealing with in the first video, but we're not there anymore. Although, alright, seems about right. Well, now I'm just trying to catch up with myself to figure out where the hell I was at before. I was talking about intrusive voices. How do people deal with intrusive voices? Hi, likes. Fuck. I don't remember where we were at. I don't. To be perfectly honest, I don't remember exactly why I started recording this today. Because I had a morning. I had a really intense morning. Not super intense, but Hashem, if I may, Your Grace, ask for some guidance as to what you'd like me to talk about. Talk about whatever you want. I feel like there's something, but I can't like place my finger on it. All right, it's fine. You'll get there. Try to imagine that you're about to have like a little breakthrough. Oh, thank you. Engrams and clearing aberrations. That was something I did this morning. I did like my first. It wasn't my first audit. It wasn't my first audit, but it felt like it. It felt like I finally pulled an audit off. What's an audit? Have you ever read Dianetics? Are you familiar with Scientology at all? Isn't that a cult? What is it? Yes and no. I can't say yes because I don't know. I never really looked into it that much. But what I do know about it is that what I do know about it is all legit. So I mean, it's not I mean, Scientology is no more of a cult than Christianity or Judaism or being a Democrat or a Republican or being loyal to your job. Like, I was reading, I'm reading, how you doing, my friend? I'm reading American Psycho. Really, how do you like it? It's cringy, very cringy. Actually makes me feel bad. Why? It's supposed to be entertaining. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. You know, there was another book that I read that made me feel kind of like gross. That's what I mean. It's like, it's gross. Patrick Bateman makes me feel bad to be a human. Baby turtle. Is he gonna save it? It's already dead. That little baby turtle is actually flatter than a pancake, literally. Might be flatter than a fucking quarter. No, I hate Patrick Bateman. Like, I can't stand Patrick Bateman. Like, he's, if there was a human that I and I'm only on, I think I'm only like 130 pages into the book, but the more that I get to know Patrick Bateman, the more that I fucking can't stand Patrick Bateman. Like, he's the type of human being, he reminds me of myself, that's why. There's a part of him that reminds me of me. The sociopathic, psychopath part, like that. Just a lot of cringe. He was just one of the not the last chapter I read, but the penultimate chapter that I read was the sex scene with him and Lewis's girlfriend, Courtney. It was just not kosher. And it's not that I don't appreciate sex, I do, and they were having the kind of sex that I love, but it was just the circumstances. And then once he started slapping her and then he started having sex with her when she didn't want to have sex with him anymore. Like, that was just get it over with. Ugh. 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 It's not rape, but it's not consensual. It's like in that shadow realm between sexes. It's just not happy sex. Very cringy, gross sex. But what came before talking about American Psycho? Like cults? Like a cult. So before Patrick was having sex with Courtney, because Lewis was away in Phoenix, she invited him out to dinner with two of her friends, Scotty and his wife. I forget her name, but Scotty and Patrick were talking about Lewis, and Lewis and Pat and Scott asked me, he's like, what house is he with? And Patrick didn't understand the question properly, and he's like, well, he's in Phoenix, he's staying at a place, I don't know. He goes, no, that's not what I mean. Like, what financial institution? The Rothschilds? And And then it goes to like Patrick's inner monologue, or maybe he started saying it to Scott and explaining which house that they were working with. And it dawned on me what he meant. He was talking about which house, which financial house. I'm not saying, you know what? Thank you, Hashem. I didn't even think about that. But, well, I'm trying to better understand money, the origins of money, at least the financial system as we know it. And it's a little abstract at the moment, but I can see how I can see how you want me to, or need me to, be able to identify the houses, the financial houses, financial bloodlines. I wonder if any of those guys have any books, like J.P. Morgan, like where he started from, like an autobiography by any of those people. Because I'm kind of curious to see how things evolved the way that they did. Why? Because I want to know where money came from. I remember recently I was looking on Wiki, and like the origins of money. And there was a section, something about like money theory. There's something called money theory, where even the people who invest their time and energy into understanding money theory, they don't really know what money is. Like, people don't know what it is. And I want to know what it is. Well, it's an entity. It's a non-human entity. Now, from a spiritual perspective, money is mammon. Mammon's one of the presidents of hell. As far as I know him as the president of hell. Or maybe not the president of hell, but he's at least he's the bookkeeper of hell. Like, you want to chase after God, you don't want to chase mammon. Serve God, don't serve mammon. Right? I think like one can't serve two masters, right? You can't serve God and mammon at the same time. You can only do one. But then if we mix in like the Jewish perspective on money is the product of God. God created money, like God created man. But nowhere in the Bible does it show like how God created money. It's just kind of there. It's like the idea of it exists. To a degree, value. Like, how do people determine value? How do people determine economic exchange? Like, that's a biggie. Where did the idea of economic exchange? So, all right. So one of the projects I'm working on, right? I'm working with Aristotle. I'm working through Aristotle's course on logic. I think it's not impossible to agree that a lot of today's society is predicated on the logic that Aristotle helped systematize in his day, which was about 2,500 years ago. I don't believe that it's used to its fullest potential, to its highest potential. That's for sure. That's for certain. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that it can't be re-envisioned. I don't believe that it can't be used in an alternative sort of way, if that makes sense. They say grammar, right? Aristotle's a grammarian. But if you consider what grammar is by today's standards, like grammar, It's the rules of writing. But that's not all of it. It's the way we speak, it's the way that we categorize things in our brain, how we see the world, how we examine the world, right? How we scrutinize it, how we scrutinize things. Like there's a way to do things, and then there's a way not to do things. But then there's the ways that exist. There's the ways that exist that live in between the two. It's like between consensual sex and rape, there's a middle ground there. There's a middle ground where it's not exactly rape, but it's not exactly consensual. That's what Patrick Bateman kind of was showing me the other night. I thought you said you hate Patrick Bateman. It doesn't mean I can't learn something from Patrick Bateman. And by the way, just to quote my brother Jesus, it's like anybody can love somebody who loves them back. It's harder to love somebody that hates us. So now, right? Love your enemy like you love yourself. Okay. So if Patrick Bateman is reflecting back at me the parts about myself that I hate the most, because I could see that in me. I've had unkosher sex. The last time I had sex was unkosher sex. I'm so ashamed of it. Why? What did you do? What I did is what I didn't do. So, what did I do? What did I not do? What I didn't do is I didn't say stop. No, I don't want this. I just took it, and that's my bad. You saying you got raped? It wasn't consensual, but I kept it to myself. Like I just kind of like sat there and just waited for it to be over. You got raped. You could say that. Like if we weren't married, then yeah, like that would have been considered rape. But it's okay, because apparently I did that to her once, a long time ago. So it's, even Steven. Derek, nobody deserves to be raped. I do. I did. And I did. So, there it goes. And realistically, let's not even call it rape. What do you want to call it? Unkosher sex. I told you, it lives in the middle ground. Like, to say it was rape or not rape, that's like real black and white. You know what I mean? And you can. That's one of 10,000 ways to look at it. But there's a more neutral way of looking at it, right? If you look at it black and white like that, it seems like it's bad. And it wasn't good. Definitely was more aligned with bad than good, but it was there. God, I can't believe I'm talking about this. Speaking of intrusive voices, oh, you think I fucking raped you? Oh, you just wait till I tell people what the fuck you did to me. Whoa, hey, listen. You're right. I did. I did all the things that you said that I did to you. But you did rape me. From one perspective. From another perspective, it was more than that. I think. I believe. That's how I saw it. That was a test to see, like, is this marriage going to last any longer? Or is this marriage dead in the water? And this, based on the sex, I remember looking up. I had a hard time even, like, looking at you. And just thinking to myself, like, yeah, no, this marriage is done. I say out of like 9 years of having sex with each other, or I'm sorry, 12 years of having sex with each other up to that point, like that was the worst. That was, I would call it, from one perspective, I'd say it was rape. Rape. How do you even figure? Because you pushed me on the couch and then you took my pants off and then you took your pants off and then you sat on me. If it was rape, how'd you get your dick hard? I'm a man, and I was high. I had smoked marijuana, so my body's extra sensitive, including my penis. So it's not impossible for a man to have an erection and not be sexually turned on. That's a fact. I don't know if women work the same way, but I have a feeling that they don't not work the same way. It's a double negative, I know. Two negatives make a positive, which means that that I'm saying that they work the same. That the female body can be sexually active while not being sexually aroused. It doesn't make any sense. Well, it's part of an aspect of human psychology that defies conscious understanding, because it's almost as if you go into autopilot mode. And when you're in autopilot mode, your conscious mind's no longer in control, because your conscious mind is going, stop, what is going on? We can't be doing this. But your unconscious mind is kind of like taken over, and you're in autopilot mode. It's when you become the observer and you can't do anything about it. This isn't a, how do you say it? It's not myth. It's not science fiction that human beings go into autopilot mode, especially during traumatic experiences like that. A lot of people who are raped and molested, they have reported that they go into, like, they block the whole fucking thing out. But what happens when you don't block it out? Where do you go when you don't block it out? And you're fucking there, and you know there's nothing that you can do about it. Just ride this out. Like, you got no choice. And whether it was, I don't believe that it was intended at, I don't know. There was no, like, hey, do you want to have sex? It was just like we were walking past each other and you pushed me on the couch, and then we just kind of hopped on, rodeo style. I don't know if I could take you seriously. Well, don't presume that you can't take me seriously. Of course I'm being serious. If I wasn't serious, I wouldn't be fucking talking about it. But I gotta get it out. To go back a couple videos, to go back a couple videos, but then also to carry on the theme of what we have been doing, is that from the 17th day of the 4th month of Tammuz, of the 4th month of Tammuz to the 9th day of the 5th month of Av, it's the 3 weeks of mourning. It's part of Jewish tradition. The 17th of Tammuz is known for its connection to the 5 tragedies of Judaism, all of which are connected to the destruction of the first and second temple. So it's not without basis. So I'm from the perspective that we can only mourn those things for so long. You can only mourn something for so long before, especially when coming from a spiritual perspective, or even coming from a Jewish perspective, for that matter. And I'm saying like a spiritual Jewish perspective because spiritual Jews, like, there's no question about the existence of God. It's not that it's not a question on if God exists. It doesn't work like that. Like, God exists whether you believe in God or not. We're in God's reality. God isn't in ours. Which I think is part of the reason why a lot of people don't like Jews, is because, and it may not be the only reason, but it's part of the reason, is that, okay, you can live in whatever reality you want to, but your reality doesn't mean shit. Because my reality is the right reality. And and again, like, I'm wrong about everything. I'm wrong about 99.998% of everything that I think is right. The only thing that I am right about is God. So So even if people want to like refute me, I'd be like, oh, you're fucking wrong, you're this or that. Hey, listen, la. Before we go too far into this, I acknowledge you're 99.998% right about everything that you want to believe. But you are, at least, whether you like it or not, 0.002% wrong about something. Now, it just happens to be that I know what you're wrong about. What you're wrong about is this debate as to whether or not God exists. It's not that God exists. God just is. It's not a matter of does God exist. No, God just is. It's kind of like air. Like we know air exists. We know oxygen. We breathe it. It just is. It's like that. Thank you, Hashem, for oxygen. You're welcome. So with that, it's like we can only mourn something for so long before we have to. You're Moshiach. I am Moshiach. I am Moshiach. I am Moshiach. I'm Moshiach ben David and Moshiach ben Joseph at the same time. Because my Shekinah is Rachel and Leah at the same time. So. Oh, David and F. Okay. I should remedy that. I'm going to remedy that. But we can only mourn something for so long before we have to recognize that it was part of God's plan. Like we all know that Hashem gets the final say on everything. So it's not, the hard part is going to be trying to recognize how the destruction of the temples and the tragedies of the Jewish people throughout history were all part of God's plan. Like we point blame at people, like we point blame at Hamas, point blame at Hitler, point blame at Antiochus Epiphanes. We point blame at Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians. Point the finger at Amalek. Point the finger at Balaam and Balak. And point the finger at all the people. They fucking love pointing the finger. But what we don't really acknowledge is the fact that it was all part of God's plan. And I was watching Finding Moshiach by Beryl Solomon. And while he was talking to Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson, Rabbi had brought up like a fairly decent point. He brought up a decent point. And he said, try to imagine a singular thing, something that justifies all of the suffering, all of the pain, all of the heartache, all of the loss, all of the death, all of the destruction. Try to imagine that something can validate all of those things. And you know, I get it, like from a perspective, and he said that you can't because there's nothing. And I don't think he's not wrong. He's not wrong. There is nothing that can do that. But and we're going back to the philosophy of the way, as taught by the Ichi School of Strategy, that's one of 10,000 ways to answer that question. And it's not a concern of mine how selfish or conceited or narcissistic this may sound, but I am. You are what? I am that thing that justifies all of the pain and suffering and loss and destruction and death. Because if history didn't play out exactly the way that it did since the very beginning, right? If history did not play out exactly the way that it did, right now it wouldn't be happening. It wouldn't be possible. Like, if you change one little thing, history as we know it, reality as we know it, crumbles. It falls apart. It just literally collapses on itself. If you alter the story of humanity in any way, shape, or form, everything that's predicated from it, predicated on it, then becomes null and void. So if not for all that death, all the destruction, all of the pain, all the suffering, all the sorrow, all the tragedies, my life wouldn't be exactly the way that it is. Thank you, Hashem. Now, the reason I get to say shit like that is because I don't come from an Orthodox Jewish background. I come from a very ultra unorthodox Jewish background. Incredibly ultra unorthodox. Which is fine. Which I'm okay with that. I have no qualms with the fact that I didn't grow up like an Orthodox Jew with the fucking Torah in my mouth. I'm okay with that. Torah found me later in life, just like it had with Abraham, and just like it had with Moses. And even to some degree, we can say even like Joseph. All of Joseph's teachings, Jacob was training Joseph for something great. He didn't know what. Joseph didn't know what. Joseph had no fucking clue that he was going to get thrown into prison after being accused of attempted rape. He had no idea that was going to happen. He could see the future in glimpses, in dreams, but he didn't know what the future held for him. So it's not like there was a point in time. It's not like there was a point in time where he knew for certain that his brothers were going to beat the shit out of him, throw him into a pit, and then sell him to slavers. He had no idea. Because if he did know what was going to happen, he wouldn't have done it. He wouldn't have agreed to that. More than likely, would not have agreed to it. Now, on the flip side, I mean, we've got someone like Jesus, who did know what was going to happen, and he said, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway, because someone's got to do it. Someone has to take one for the team. And that's why I'm a little bit upset with like the orthodoxy. It's because, like, why can't you just admit that? Like, you don't have to say he was the Messiah. Like, I don't believe he was the Messiah. Not in the sense that the Christians see him. Like that Christians. The Christian congregation, listen, they mean well, and like, hey, go for it. You want to worship a Jew like a god? I fully endorse it. But if you want to endorse a Jew like a god, then you know what? You should look at all of us like gods. Because everything he can do, we can do better. And that's what he was saying. He wasn't talking to you. He wasn't talking to you. That's why you can't even understand the scriptures. That's why you think he was this fucking miracle god. And I'm not saying that he wasn't performing miracles, because he was. For that point in time, you got to remember that physics and science wasn't what it is today. So to those primitive people who were mainly uneducated, for the most part, uneducated by today's standards, and even by the Jewish congregation that he did get to work with. You got to keep in mind, Judaism wasn't as developed as it is today. He was talking to a whole different species of Jew that for the most part predominantly don't exist. The Jews of today are not the same Jew. Well, I mean, genetically speaking, yeah, we're the same Jews, but what? Choose your words wisely. Go fuck off. I ain't choosing my words wisely. I'm gonna choose my words the way that Hashem fucking puts them in my mouth. All right. So this is something that'll probably relate better to the Gentile crew. Is your ancestors were cavemen, right? They're like monkeys. You came from monkey people. So the monkey people, they didn't know how to do subtraction. They didn't know grammar. They didn't know anything about grammar at all. But over time, they learned it. Not that grammar didn't exist. They just hadn't discovered it yet. And so it is with fire, for instance. Man didn't invent fire, discovered it. Man didn't invent math. Mathematics existed prior to man. The universe is based on math. The creation of the universe is based on mathematics. So math existed long time before human beings did. Even human existence is predicated on mathematics. So how do you figure? Well, it takes two to tango. You can't have two without one. You can't have one until there's none. So before there was one, there had to be zero. Those are probably those you can consider as your Neanderthals, pre-human humanoids who were not Homo sapiens, you know? Because Homo sapien didn't always exist. If we count backwards, right? What is there? By today's standards, there's 8 billion homosexuals. There actually might be. There might be. I think everybody's got it inside of them. Everyone's got it inside of them. Everyone's gay to one degree or another. It's whether you act on it or not. It's the work of the devil. But at the moment, there's 8 billion Homo sapiens. I can prove it. I can prove that I'm gay. Because I would have sex with myself. I'm the only man I would have sex with. But I can't. Because it defies science. And it defies the laws of nature. Technically. I mean, there's ways to do it, but I am a man who enjoys pleasuring a man, myself. So, I'm gay for me. The idea of me having homosexual relations with another man, though, that's actually quite repulsive. It's like the most disgusting thing I can think of. And I don't care about other people. You can go and have sex with all the men that you want if you're a man. That's fine. I don't give a shit. You're not gonna go burn in hell. Like, wait, you say you don't believe in hell? I'm not saying I don't believe in hell. I'm just saying that there's a lot of other criteria and a lot of other rules and laws that God put into place that, as long as you obey by them, you're fine. The 7 Noahide laws, right? Very simple. Number 5 or number 6 is to not rape, to have a moral sexual life. But it doesn't define what that means. It just says moral. It just says it's got to be a moral sex life. So how do you define a moral sex life? Don't rape somebody, right? Don't force someone to have sex with you. And realistically, like if you find it moral to have sex with a donkey, be my fucking guest. I don't know what to tell you. But here's the caveat to that. Is once we get into Jewish law, once we get into the law of the Israelites that God gave to us, you're not allowed to have sex with an animal, and you're not allowed to have sex with a man. If you want to be a part of the club, if you want to be part of the group, there's certain guidelines you have to follow. There's certain criteria. There's certain criteria you gotta check off the list. And I'm not saying that like you can't be part of the group if you don't do everything to a T. I mean that was part of what Jesus was doing. He was showing people like you can do things your own way. And look at it like this, right? What does the rule? What does the law say? That a man cannot lie with another man like he would with a woman. Like that's one way to look at it. It's one of 10,000 ways you could look at it. I have lied with a man like I lied with a woman before. I lied in bed with a man more than once. With our clothes on. There was no sexual stuff going on. But he was sleeping on that side and I was sleeping on this side. And that motherfucker, I remember his elbow touched me or my elbow touched him. I was like, oh shit. My fear, because I was really high at the time. We were both really high. Pot brownies. My fear was like, God, I hope. Well, my wife actually put it in my head. Well, my wife's father put it in my head. I hope they don't fuck each other in the middle of the night, thinking that that each other is the other one's girlfriend, other wife. Come on, man. What the fuck is wrong with you? But that's a good point. It put the fucking fear. Oh my God, my heart started fucking pounding. Your heart's on your other side, I know. But I'm just saying. I hope this motherfucker don't try. I hope this motherfucker don't try. Fuck. But he didn't try, which is good. When his elbow like rubbed up against mine, or my elbow rubbed against him, that's when I was like, oh, fuck. That's when I mushed myself into the corner. Because the bed was up against the wall. And I had the wall spot, so I just kind of mushed all the way as close as I could. But I'd have to look at the wording in the Bible. But another way you can look at it, if I'm going to play devil's advocate, is don't lie with a man like you would lie to a woman. Don't lie to a man like you would lie to a woman. Don't lie to him like you would lie to her. You're lying to her to get her in bed. Don't lie to him like that. Be straight up. Be honest. You're gonna pull some kind of weird shit like that? Was that seducing? Like toxic seduction? Where you're lying to somebody to get them into bed? That's normal, right? Isn't that normal behavior? People do that all the time. They put up a front to get the other person in bed. We pretend to be someone that we're not so that I can get you into bed. This way I can have sex with you for some reason. I don't know. I've never done that before. I don't think so. Like, I'm trying to think back to... I've only had sex with, like, maybe a handful of people. Well, I mean, my ex-wife, I lost my virginity to my ex-wife, but I was 15 when that happened. Right? Because we dated more than once. We dated, like, over the course of our lives, we dated, like, 15, and then, like, 16 or 17, and then again at, like, 25. So, there were sexual relations. There were sexual relations from the very beginning, so I don't know if I count. I don't think you count the same person, right? If I had sex with somebody when they were 15, I was 15 too. So if I had sex with somebody when I was 15, and then I had sex with that same person again when I was 25, like I feel like you don't count that person twice, right? Or do you? Well, let's say no. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. You're talking about penetration, you're not talking about like oral sex, right? No, just like penis and vagina. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7. Okay, it's not. Now, each one, did I pretend? Did I ever lie? No. No, there was never any, I've never done that. One night stand? Yeah, but it was mutual. Why is that? Sexual conquests? What does that mean? What's a sexual conquest? To have sex with as many people as possible. Why the hell would you want to do that? Why would you soil someone like that? Well, you know, that actually reminds me of yesterday's Torah portion. God sends Israel to wipe out the Midianites, and because the Midianites had conspired with the Moabites to corrupt the Israelites and get them to worship Baal by using their women under the advice of Balaam, who technically was speaking out of the word of God, who, like, he was still under contract. He was still under contract to only speak what God told him to speak. So I don't know about all that. So, like, Balaam was very clear about it, and the angel, extraterrestrial, that God sent to speak to Balaam even said, you can only speak what God tells you. So Balaam told the king of Moab and the Midianites how to, well, he even said to them, like, you're not going to beat them. You're not going to beat them, but if you want to fuck them up, here's what you do. Send your women to corrupt their minds. And that's what they did. It wasn't done with the intention of actually wiping out the Israelites, because even Balaam said, he's like, you're never going to be able to do it. You're never going to be able to beat them. God made it so that they cannot be beaten. But what you can do if you want to, like, beat the shit out of them, if you want to, like, make an impression, here's what you do. Send your women to go poison their minds and corrupt their minds so that they start worshiping your God instead of God. And that's what they did. And as retribution for doing so, God commands Moses, yeah, you better get the army and go wipe their asses with them. See, and that's where things get really confusing, because how and why would God why would he do that? Well, for one, there's a good reason for it. So, there's a good reason for it, yeah. I can justify it. And this is how I justify all of the mass, when God wipes out a large number of Israelites, there's a reason why. And so think of it like, what God is doing is bringing the corruption to the surface. He recognizes that the programming, it's not going to work with everybody. You're talking about a nation of people who are just coming out of slave mentality. They're not going to be able to handle the new sense of freedom. Like, they won't be able to. It's going to drive them nuts, which is why that constantly happens to them, which is why there's always revolts. It's like, you can take a bitch out the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out the bitch. You can take the slave out the Jew, but you can't take the Jew out of this. You can take the Jew out of Egypt, but you can't take the slave out the Jew. Right? No. You're close. I like where you're going with it. You gotta. They should be thankful. Well, try to imagine that they just went through a couple generations of slavery, and then are freed through these miraculous events that they have no idea. There's only a few Jews throughout Jewish history who actually saw magic, that they saw fucking God's hand come down and do things. Right, the Jews that enter into the Promised Land, they aren't the same Jews that crossed the sea. Moses, Caleb, and Joshua are the only 3 Jews at that point, or the only 3 Israelites who make it to the fucking Jordan, who can say with certainty that they saw it happen. They're the only ones. Because in the wilderness, after Korah, one of the priests, or one of the Levites, he wanted more power. He wanted more freedom. He wanted to be in control. He didn't like being under. He started a revolution to overthrow Moses. He saw Moses as a dictator, and he wasn't having it because they didn't really believe in God. They didn't believe in God, and you know this because he thinks that Moses is the one who's making all the laws. But Moses is like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm just doing what the Most High is telling me. But they don't have that. They're not really as connected as they say, as they believe, or at least as they're supposed to be. So when Korah does his little revolution with his 250 cohorts, Moses says to them, listen, here's what we'll do. There's 250 of you. If we want to see who's going to be the high priest, because that was another thing, because Aaron was the high priest. They thought it was, what do you call it? Nepotism? But it wasn't. God specifically chose Aaron from the very beginning. And nobody would know that unless you were there to see it happen through Exodus. So you got to also remember that, 1, these people were just slaves. 2, they're being led out of Egypt. They don't know what the fuck is going on. 3, a lot of this is they got to take Moses' word for it. It's like you're putting blind faith in this guy. Mind you, it's not like he's not backing up his shit. Not that nothing he says doesn't happen. But even Pharaoh's guys, they thought he was just a rogue magician. That's what Pharaoh's people told. Pharaoh's advisors said. They're like, oh, this fucking guy, we can turn a staff into a snake. Here, watch, we can do the same thing. Boom. And they did it. Even all the other plagues, they were convinced that Moses was just some fucking wizard. They couldn't like wrap their heads around the fact that God was actually doing these things. And that Moses was just kind of like the channel. He was just the medium through which God was performing his works. Which is the same thing with Jesus. Like people blow up Jesus, like we were saying before. Like people, the simple mindset is, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. What? Well, consider all of the people who were giving Moses the credit, right? Even Korah, who was trying to revolt on him. Like he was under the impression that it was Moses who was commanding all of this stuff that was going on. But the point was that it was not. And that's why God had to deal with Korah the way that he did. And his cohorts. And the same thing with Jesus. It's not Jesus doing it. And Jesus was pretty clear more than once. Like, don't give me the credit for this. This is God helping you, not me. But things were getting lost in translation in the sense that you're asking a whole lot from people who aren't capable of seeing what you want them to see. Like you're telling them what to see, but they're not seeing it. Like I don't believe it's possible to have this conversation with a Christian Although we could argue, we could make the case that even those people that say Moses' law, we're following Moses, those aren't Moses' laws. That's not the law of Moses. The law is the law of God, God's law. Moses was just the facilitator. He was just the arbitrator. Just as Jesus was just the arbitrator. Because if you look at the times, and I've been watching that show, The Chosen, and it's really good. It's really fucking good. Especially from a non-Christian Jew perspective. So, if you pay attention to what's going on, the political landscape, not just from the Roman perspective, but even from the Jewish perspective, and how the Jews were even, how do you say it? They were bullying their own people, but they didn't know any better. The Sanhedrin, they were forcing this way of thinking on the people because they thought they were doing the right thing, and they weren't doing anything wrong. They were doing what they believed to be right, because there was no other way. It's just that when Jesus rose to power, one, they weren't prepared for it. And two, he was literally teaching the opposite. He was going against the grain so much that he was causing a problem. Not just with the Jews, but with the Romans too. So it's not that the Jews are completely wrong when they say that Jesus got crucified for being an upstart, for being a troublemaker. And it's not that they're entirely wrong. The Jews of the time, they were actually expecting Jesus to be a soldier, a warrior. And I think that's a lot of what the misinterpretation with a lot of the Jews, even today, come into play. Like a lot of Jews, they're under the impression, they're under the impression that there's two messiahs, and that one Messiah, the Moshiach ben Joseph, and then Moshiach ben David, and that Ben David is going to pave the way for Ben Yosef, Ben Yosef is going to pave the way for Ben David. But the reality of it is that they're both the same person. They're both the same person, and you know this because if you read Ezekiel, like the Jewish religion's Messiah is not the biblical Messiah. Okay, they're separating it as they're separating him as two people, which is not the case. And I wish I could remember this rabbi's name, but there's a rabbi who made a really good point last night. Made a really good point that Moshiach is here to fight God's wars, not man's wars. Like this thing going on in Israel, that's man's war. God never won. You can read the Bible through and through, and you'll never see God saying that Israel belongs to the Jews. And mind you, the state of Israel, God didn't give the Jews the state of Israel. The UN did. So don't fall for that phony baloney bullshit. I'm not saying that that's not part of the promised land that God gave to the children of Israel. I'm not saying that. But that land that the UN gave to the Jews in the 40s, that's not the land, that's not the promised land. And the fact that there should be some red flags going off. There should be ding, 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 red flag, red flag, red flag, ding, 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 ding. Hey. Because if you understand Jewish law, and even, I'm talking straight from the Torah, and throughout the entire Bible, not just the books of Moses, but all the way through, there's a common thread, there's a common theme of attachment to physical things, attachment to stuff. Hey there, guy. Go crawl over there. For instance, Abraham, right? So a lot of people they shit on Abraham unjustly and judge him for what happened with Isaac. But if you take into consideration the relationship that God requires from the Jewish people, the Hebrews, is that we are forbidden to place anything between us and God, right? So meaning everything you have in this life is because of Him. He gave it to us on loan. And anybody could say this, really. It's just the whole idea of the whole chosen people. We're chosen to be the ones. We don't get a choice. Where everybody else gets a choice to think and do things in their own way, we don't get a choice. We're kind of on a leash, right? And you know, that might seem like a bad thing, but it's not. It's actually incredibly freeing, because that's the point, is to free yourself of the physical world. To detach from those things from which we are attached to. Your stuff is just stuff. It's like Tyler Durden said, the stuff you own, eventually eventually the things you own you. And what Hashem, God, wants from us, his chosen people, is that we are forbidden from falling down into that trap. Because someone has to maintain that integrity. Does that make sense? Someone has to hold on to it. And I'm not saying that every Jew is a fucking bastion of light. They might claim to be, but that's to presume that 0.00% of Jews are hypocrites. God loves a hypocrite, especially a Jewish hypocrite. God loves Jewish hypocrites more than any other kind of hypocrite. Because one, you should know better. You literally are genetically engineered to know better, but you are going out of your way to defy. Just like Korah. Remember when Jesus is teaching his guys, he's like, a rich man can't get into heaven because he can't get rid of his shit. He's attached to his stuff. There's a rich man that comes up to Jesus and he's like, yo man, I want to get into heaven. And he goes, all right, do me a favor, go sell all your stuff. And he's like, well, what are you talking about? There you go, the fuck out of here. If you're not willing to let it all go, if you're not willing to like get rid of all the shit, then there's no room, sorry. And Jews fall into the same category. If you go up to a Jew, let's say I do a survey amongst the Jews. Hey, do me a favor. We're going to go to your bank account. We're going to take out all your money. Then we're going to burn it all. No. We're just going to give it away. Give it away. We're going to give it away to people who don't even need it. We're going to take out every cent that you have. And we're going to go to another rich guy, another rich Jew. And we're just going to give him all the money. Here, fuck it. It's all yours. Then give him your house, give him the keys to your car, and then your family too. You got to get rid of them. You got to get rid of everything. You got to be willing to get rid of everything. And mind you, like here's the thing. This is the game that God was playing with Job. You have to be willing. Doesn't mean that you have to, but you have to be. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to, but you have to be willing to let it all go. Fuck it. I don't need this shit. Come on, man. I'm sweaty. I don't need fucking ants crawling up all over me. You feel me, bruv? And I know that's like the fucking craziest concept in the entire world, but it's really not. It's really not. Like, there's the portion that I just watched of The Chosen. It's a controversial part of the Bible, of the New Testament, where there's two versions of the story. It's two versions of the story. And actually, no, now it makes sense. I get it. So there's two versions of this story. One version of the story is that this is when Jesus is sending out his disciples out. And he gives them authority to cast out demons and to perform miracles. he tells them, don't bring any food, don't bring a change of clothes, just bring what you're wearing. What you got is all you're bringing. Don't even bring a staff. You can't even bring your walking stick. But now there's two versions of it. Now the version in The Chosen plays off of the Luke version, which is when God tells them not to bring a staff, I think. But there's another version where he tells them that they can bring a staff. There's a point to it. There's a reason for why he told them don't bring any of the other things. People get focused on, well, he said to bring a staff, and he said don't bring a staff. Which one's the real one? Don't worry about it. Focus on the other shit. Don't bring food. Don't bring money. Don't bring clothes. Don't bring anything that'll make your trip easy. Why? Because it has to be a difficult journey. Because you have to trust in God to provide you everything. What he's doing, he's trying to teach them bitahon. He's trying to teach them how to rely on God, and not rely on their own faculties, which is difficult. You're used to like having to work for money. You're used to having to chase after to go to the grocery store. Yeah, you're used to having to do all this stuff. But what he's trying to teach them is you don't have to do all that shit. As long as you're in service. As long as you're being in service to God, he'll give you everything that you need. Don't even worry about it. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean it's going to come to you like right when you want it. But you're not going to starve. You're not going to go hungry. Your clothes aren't going to get all fucked up. You're going to be fine. You just have to trust and believe that God's going to take care of you. Yeah, I've done that. I think I've done it unwittingly, and I've done it willingly. I'm doing it now. I haven't had money in, I know I love talking about this. I haven't had money in about, we'll call it 10, because I don't know if it's 9, 10, or 11 weeks, but 9, 11, or 10, 11, 9, 10, or 11, you know what, fuck it, let's just lowball it. 9 consecutive weeks without money. 9 consecutive weeks. That's a lot. What is that? 63 days? And that's low ball. It could be 10 weeks, it could be 11 weeks. I don't know. I don't remember. May 22nd. If we count that. So we're going into August tomorrow. So we got June, July. June 22nd, July 22nd. So there's 60 days roughly. And then we have another 9 days. So 69 days. So yeah, that's about right. That's about right. And granted, I think it was June 22nd was the day of the first quarter moon. First quarter moon in Capricorn? No, you idiot. Pisces. Virgo. Oh my God. A little rough. Don't worry about it. So that would have been the Virgo first quarter moon. It should have been. Yeah. Yes, matter of fact, nice. Go you. So the Virgo first quarter moon. No. Yes. No. Yes. May 22nd. You're thinking June 22nd. May 22nd. May 22nd. Okay. All right. No, you're right. You're right. May 22nd. So that would have been the first quarter moon in Virgo. So, like, I think 3 days afterwards. So call it fucking May 25th. Because I remember that I have a journal entry, and I said, like, I have to go get pens. I got to spend my last $5 on pens. Or on notebooks. Or was that the day that I shoplifted? Depends. That would make more sense because it's shoplift day, then the pen, then we got the notebooks. Alright. Whew. Way to get that cleared up. But the idea of it is that I can't afford food, right? I can't afford cigarettes. I can't afford to go to the Chinese buffet. I can't afford my medicine. Medicine? What kind of medicine? My pot. I can't afford clothes. Like, these shorts are like years old. I could use some new shirts, some new shoes, new belt. Some new dress clothes. Like, you know, like I don't have anything. I have 54 cents in my bank account. But the point is to get used to not having it. To not be so reliant on money. Because try to imagine yourself, if you're someone that's not me, try to imagine yourself without money, with like 54 cents in your bank account. Try to think of what that would feel like. The anxiety, the stress. I've been there. I've already been through this. This is my third time doing this. Over the past 6 years, I've done it 3 times. The first time I did it, I went for a year without money. And mind you, I went from having a $65,000 a year salary. Okay? I went from having a $65,000 a year salary. So, like, what was that, bringing home? Like $1,100 a week I was bringing home? It was delicious. Delicious. It took me so long. I started at a job in the graphic industry in 2005, making $12 an hour. And then 12 years later, I had a salary of $65,000 a year. I was so proud of myself. That's not a lot of money. I know. But when you don't have an education, you didn't finish college and you grew up poor, or you didn't grow up with money. You didn't grow up with you grew up with enough to survive. To get to that point, earned it. And it may not have been a lot to a lot of people. I know that there was people around me who were doing financially speaking, they were doing a lot better. But, and even to a degree, their stuff, nicer houses than me. I had a condo. I had a nice condo. I had a really nice condo. Missed that condo. Two floors. Parking. Garbage. Two floors. 2 bedroom. 2.5 bath. Kitchen, dining room. Backyard. And it was one of the end units too. So it was private. And the lady who lived there, who we bought it from, she set up privacy bushes. They're like little mini fucking pine trees on the side of the patio, so you can have some privacy from the neighbors, which is fucking nice. I'm not exactly a welcoming host. As a matter of fact, when it does come to entertaining and guests, I trend to be particularly unwelcoming. But that's just me. It's not you. It's just, I hate guests. Don't like guests. I don't like hosting people. It's been a while though. But some of my friends, they had nicer houses, nicer cars. I've never owned a new car before. I've never felt like I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck. And even at $65,000 a year, like my wife wasn't making, I believe she was making less than half of what I was making. 32, well, maybe she was making about half before taxes, which put a lot of strain on me because I was reliant on everything. To be perfectly honest, she couldn't even afford half the bills. Like half, to pay half. I'm trying to think. Like $400 a week? Right, was she even making that much? $400 a week? Before taxes or after? And not to shit on her job. I mean, it was her parents. Like I didn't like the fact she was working for her parents. I thought those people were fucking ripping her off. I thought those people were being real fucking cheap. Imagine you fucking breathing in like fucking toxic fucking fumes from. I mean, while they're paying her fucking chump change, like what? That's like, what are you paying her? Fucking minimum wage? Your fucking daughter, idiot. I mean, while all the financial stresses were on me because of the fact that, well, she couldn't be trusted with money, especially after her fucking stint with fucking opioids. And I know that's her own shit, but I'm talking about my experience. So once I realized that she can't be trusted with money, she doesn't even make enough money. She's not a nurturing woman in any way, shape, or form. After my father died, it was just like, don't even bother. Don't even try. Well, you're not trying. You don't seem like you're trying. She said to me one day, well, don't feel bad. It's just we're not a very affectionate people. Yeah, I get that. But I'm not your mom. I'm not your dad. I'm not your sister. What the fuck did she do? Put your arm around. It's gonna be all right. Oh, fuck? You're laughing at that. You're laughing at it because it's funny. Okay? Yes. So there was a lot of like financial stress for me. And it was difficult. Like I didn't talk about it to anybody. I didn't really tell anybody what was going on with me because I don't like being vulnerable with people because I don't trust people, and for good reason. I have plenty of good reason to not trust people, especially with my more tender feelings and emotions. So why are you doing this? Because I don't give a fuck anymore. Now I got Hashem. God tells me fuck it. Going back to the 3 weeks of mourning. I'm mourning my old life. That's why I'm talking about it constantly over these last couple of videos, is because just getting it out. Because the more that you talk about it, the more that you drain it of its impact, its emotional impact, its energetic impact, the closer we come to a point where we neutralize it completely and we can fit that particular time frame, that window of time, into the bigger picture of things and get we can observe it from a 40,000 foot perspective, right? And see how it plays with the grand scheme of things, right? You know what I mean? It's like I'm only focused on a fucking small window of time from 2005 to 2018. So, I mean, I know that technically it's not a small period of time, but it's in relation to the rest of my life. It's a small piece. And if I could see Torah throughout all my entire life, but this is that one stretch, that's the hardest timeline for me to fucking go, fuck. Although she did used to say, like, she didn't like to get her pictures taken. She hated to get her picture taken. And every time I took a picture of her, like, the picture would always come out dark. Not always, but a lot of the times when I would take a picture of my ex-wife, the picture would be underdeveloped. And she wasn't wrong. She would always say, she's like, I just suck all the light out of things. Yeah, you do. You definitely do. That's not untrue. So, with that knowledge, like, I could see why my life with her would be the most challenging to see God in, because of the fact that she sucks all the light, all the goodness, all the holiness out of everything. And she may not think the same way now. You may not think the same way that you did back then, which is fine. But the person that I'm talking about, that's not me anymore. I'm not saying it is you. Well, that person is as much you as the person I was is as much me. Does that mean? Oh shit! What time is it? Let's start walking back. Well, today's my grandmother's birthday, and the last I heard was that we were all supposed to go out for a family dinner tonight, and I haven't heard anything. Except for that, my mother 2 weeks ago told me that she was prioritizing her golf game today. But I never actually got word as to if her prioritization of golf is going to ruin it for everybody else. And I saw her before. She didn't bring it up. And not to mention the fact that the last time something like this happened, my uncle took my brother out, but nobody ever asked me to go out, and I was kind of pissed off about it. So I want to make sure that same shit's not happening this time, because that's going to piss me off. I mean, it's going to piss me off, I'm going to take it personal, but at the same time, like, when it happened, I didn't even know that it happened. I just kind of suspected that it happened. And then, like, 2 weeks later, they were talking about it right in front of me. What? So you did do it. I knew it. But even when I suspected it, Hashem came through to me. He's like, listen, don't even take it personal, but also recognize that what you're doing right now is more important than that stupid shit. Trust me. Alright, I trust you. But this one's important. It's my grandma's birthday. Because she'll probably be dead before the next one. And plus that woman, she's a very hateful woman. With a lot of bad juju surrounding her. Well, my mother's whole side of the family, they're witches. All the women on my mother's side, they're witches. They're very dark people, very negative, very toxic. And because everyone can say that about their family. Yeah, I know, but I'm not talking about anyone else's family. I'm talking about mine. I don't give a fuck about your family. My wife's family was toxic as fuck too. My wife was perfect. I had the best wife ever. Listen, don't think that just because I say things about my ex-wife doesn't mean that I did not absolutely adore and love my wife. I did. I love her very much. But I also recognized that her family was incredibly draining on her, and there was nothing I can do about it. So when I had to cut the cord, I had to cut the cord, because it was, listen, I know, and it's not that I had to take full responsibility for things, for the way that she was, and I do. I take as much responsibility as I can. But there does come a point where it's like, hey, listen, you guys made her. You guys fucked her up. You guys fix her now. And they didn't like that. They didn't like that. That's why when on the last time I saw her, well, not the last time I saw her, but when we finally split, the determination that she was moving out was already made. Her mother decided that she was moving out and moving back with them, because her mother told me. So she's like, I said, well, I'll talk to her when she gets home. She ain't coming home. She's moving in with us. All right. And she left. We talked for a little bit. We didn't get the whole thing. I talked to Joanne today, and what'd she say? Nothing. That's not true. That's see, because I talked to her too, and she said a lot more than nothing. Okay. I didn't press it though. Like, I don't do, like, okay, you don't want to talk about it? Like, you're gonna move out, but we're not gonna talk about this. All right. And the conversation did go that way. I mean, we did talk about it. But that was me taking my last stand for myself. Because you know how, they say, like, you gotta choose yourself sometimes. Eventually, like, shit happens and things happen enough times that finally you gotta go, no, I'm choosing me. And that's what it was. It was like 7 years of shit on her end. And mind you, she had her own stuff that she was dealing with. And after 7 years, I'm the one who said no more. Because of what it was doing to me. Because I was going through a lot of shit, and it was incredibly difficult for me. So by the time I didn't say I'm done, lately, very challenging. It was very difficult. So a couple hours later, after she had left, I went out for a cigarette and I saw her walking up. And she said to me, she's like, I don't want to stay there. Can I please stay on the couch? And I said, no, I don't think it's a good idea. Because I know it'll happen. If I let you sleep on the couch, I'm gonna be sleeping upstairs. I'm not gonna be able to just let you sleep on the couch. Like, it's not gonna work. I'm gonna invite you to come upstairs, then we're gonna work things out, and then we're gonna open a door for this to happen again. And I just, no, not this time. And I know, it was, I get that. I get it too. I get it too. Like, you made the bed, now you lie in it. But that's a two-way street. It's not one way. Like, I made the best out of the situation as best as I could, just as I'm sure that she did the best that she could. But I wasn't happy about it. You know what it's like to sleep next to somebody for 12 years? Well, I mean, for the better part of 12 years. There was a time when we first moved out together where we didn't sleep in the same room. One of my stipulations for when we first moved out together was I want my own room. Because I had just gotten out of a relationship and I wasn't ready to open myself up to somebody like that again. And it was very challenging. And I give her a lot of credit for putting up with it for as long as she did. But both of us were in a situation where nobody else wanted us. Nobody else wanted us for anything more than just sex, at least. And I was cold, and I was avoidant. I was an avoidant type, that's for fucking sure. But it wasn't that I didn't love her. I loved her since the fucking first time I saw her. We have a very cute story. We have a very cute build-up to her, to the point that we got married. Especially when we were like 15. You remember? Of course I remember. I have to. Fuck. Yeah. And a little Lion King finger puppet, Lenny. I remember that. I do remember that. My son asked me once, how did you meet Mom? He asked me after we split. How did you meet Mom? Yeah. No, we met at the mall. I was 15. She's older. Older woman. And I don't know, it's kind of like there's some blank spots. Like I don't remember the initial conversation. I don't remember how it was, hi, I'm April, hi, I'm Derek. I don't remember that necessarily. As a matter of fact, I don't even remember entirely how it was that we even connected. I remember being at the movie theater together later that night. But maybe we weren't really even spending enough time together during the day. I know that we had met initially. I just don't remember who else was there. Like, I know she was with somebody. She was with a friend of hers. I was with a friend of mine. I know that. But maybe I wasn't. Because it's possible I could have been walking around by myself. I know I went to Burger King that day. Where'd you get the money to buy Burger King? I don't know. I don't know. I used to have a black market, Thieves Guild. So I had clients, and my clients would give me a list of things that they wanted. And then next to on the list, it was the price that they were willing to pay for the item in question. So I would just go, it was like a fucking scavenger hunt. And what I would do is I would go and I would collect the items, and I would bring them to my clients, and then they would pay me for them, and then we'd go from there. It was my first step in entrepreneurialism. Hey, look at that. I've had the spirit. Oh, I never even thought of it like that before. Hey, that's one of 10,000 ways to look at it. Look at it that way. You're so fucking pleased with yourself. I am. I never thought of it that way before. I was a teenage entrepreneur. I was good at thieving. That was something I was really good at. If there was one thing that Derek always excelled at, it was thievery. It was shoplifting. Oh my God, such a good shoplifter. I stole a PlayStation once. I was in a high-speed chase because of it. So much fun. I wasn't driving. I wasn't the driver. My friend was the driver. And we fucking left the other dude. We left the other dude. He got clipped. But I mean, this is the way. And you know what's fucked up is, like, I believe, if I remember correctly, that night I had just gotten out of jail. I got out of jail. I was in a holding cell in a police station because I got busted with stolen credit cards on me. The fuck were you doing with stolen credit cards? About a week prior, I was at Woodstock 99, and I was really impressed by this story. So I went to Woodstock. I was 19. So it was before my 20th birthday. So we went to Woodstock. I didn't have a ticket. I only had $20, half a pack of cigarettes. My father didn't even ask. I was just like, we're going to Woodstock. All right. Bring me back a mug. Yeah, Daddy. So then I went. I only had $20, no ticket, and I think the $20 I spent on a porn magazine. We stopped at a gas station, and I saw this fetish magazine that I ended up buying, and it showed a sex change. Well, nah, I don't know what the hell it was. It was a man not becoming a woman, becoming asexual. So it's, I don't know, it was really fucked up. Because they cut in the pelvis area, and they like stuffed the dick and balls in there. Like, I don't know if it cut the balls and dick off. It didn't look like it. Because I remember them cutting the person open and then stuffing the balls and dick into the hole and then sewing it up. Like, I don't know. Like, it was really fucked up. There's like ladies with fucking like hog-tied with fucking clamps on their nipples. It's like really, it's intense. Like, it's not something that you would masturbate to. It's something, it's like a novelty porn. You know what I mean? It's like watching people eat shit or watching a guy get fucked in a dick hole with a vibrator. You ever see a guy get fucked in the dick hole with a vibrator? That's fucked up. It's like, ugh! Oh my God! It stretches like that? Oh my God! Oh, the fucking pain. I don't even know what that could feel like. Octopus porn, that's another one. Oh my God. People eating shit. Novelty porn. So, we got there, and I got in. I mean, granted, we had a system. I had a system on how to do it. So, back then I never used to pay for, I used to see movies all the time, but I would never pay to go into the movie theater. There was the easy way to get into the movies, if you want to sneak people in, is you need at least 2 paying customers in order to do it. But with 2 people, you can sneak in unlimited people. So what you do is, 2 people get the ticket, 2 people go get the seats, 1 person comes out with both tickets, then that 1 person hands that ticket to a third party who doesn't have a ticket, and then that person uses that stub. So when they get up to the maitre d', they go, here, or the ticket collector, here's my ticket, here's my stub. And they're like, all right, here you go. Now, I had a friend, an older gentleman friend, old guy. I don't know why or how we got on to have this kind of relationship, but he wouldn't ask me, he wouldn't charge me. I would just walk up and be like, here you go. Enjoy the show, my friend. All right, thank you. But we utilized that same tactic with Woodstock. So I think either 2 or 3 of the 4 people, there's four of us, including myself. So 2 out of 3 of us, at the very least, had tickets, but I didn't. So 2 of them had to go in. Now I did a little bit of recon too, so it's not like I don't do this. And at that point in my life, I had been used to sneaking into raves, so I know what I'm doing. If you need to get into some place that requires you to pay, it's not impossible that I can figure out a way to get in without paying. So what we found out was that after recon, what we found out was that people were using wristbands. And usually it's just a matter of asking people, hey, what happened when you gave the tickets? Did they do a stamp? Did they do a wristband? Well, what's going on? And people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't give a fuck. I got a wristband. All right, cool. So the 2 would go in, they got the wristbands, and then one of them would come back out, because you could go in and out, because the Woodstock Festival, it was just so big, like, people had to park outside, so there had to be an exit and an entrance. Like, they had to allow for people to come and go. And so, was that on the same spot as the original? I don't know. That's actually worth noting. I never thought of that before. But, yeah, this is the one where there was the riot at the end. I wasn't there for the riot, unfortunately. God willing, God made it so, well, I know why, because I would have got caught fucking stealing the fucking ATM machine, which is what I wanted to do so badly. I remember getting home, and my father's like, oh, you're back. I said, yeah, why? We didn't know that there was a riot at this point. We left like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning on the last day. And he's like, there's a fucking riot. I thought you were there. They're showing videos on the fucking news of the fucking ATM machines being raided. I thought you and your friends fucking... What? That was... I had my eyes... I had my eyes on one of the ATM machines for the 2 days we were there. I know what he was talking about, and he's right. Had we been there, I would have been doing that, because that's what I wanted to do. I was actually pissed off because I didn't get to do it. I was so mad because we did leave early. I was pissed because I wanted to continue stealing because I had a really lucrative weekend. You gotta understand. I went with $20, half a pack of cigarettes. I left my father's apartment with $20, half a pack of cigarettes, and no ticket. I left Woodstock. I left with about $550 cash, some credit cards, Blockbuster card, some car keys, driver's license, like 6 book bags. How do you carry 6 book bags? Not easy, but it can be done. Well, you gotta put 3. You gotta put 1 on your back, 3 on one arm, 4 on the other arm. It's not. The math doesn't add up. Don't worry about the math. Just, you know what I'm saying. You can get 1 on your back and then you can just fill your arms up, and that's what I had to do. But then my friend, he was all fucked up. He was part of the reason why we had to leave, because he was just so inebriated. But I was also, as we were leaving, I was putting book bags on him. I think. Well, I know he had book bags on him. He may have picked a couple up on his own, but now during that whole weekend, the $550 didn't come from that. As a matter of fact, I was a little bit upset because every fucking book bag I stole, every book bag that I had liberated up until that point was always had money in it, or some kind of treats. The first duffel bag that I took was around like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning on the second day. And we were walking, it was a friend of mine, we were walking another friend of ours who took a different car. We were walking him back towards where he was camped out, which was like outside the festival. And while we were walking, there was a big fucking pickup truck. And a dude sleeping in this big black pickup truck. And underneath the cab was a big duffel bag. I'm like, my friends, they kept on walking. Nobody's paying attention. But I look over, I see this thing, and God literally pointed my face in the direction. I went, oh, fuck, okay. I have to take that. And so I just kind of went over. The dude was sleeping on the inside. I snuck over, picked up the fucking bag, and then I ran and caught up with my friends. What'd your friends say? Well, what do you think they said? Where the fuck did you get that? From underneath that fucking pickup truck. So then we walked up a little bit more until we were a little distance away, and then we started opening the duffel bag so that we could see what was inside of the duffel bag. And there was a nice satchel of weed. Now, mind you, at the time, I don't like weed. I liked hard drugs. I was on ecstasy. I had eaten at least 1 ecstasy pill that night, which I was still kind of high from. But found a big knife. Couldn't bring that in. Then I found a wad of cash. A big wad of cash. It was like fucking almost. I know that we had enough. See, I was generous with it. So what I did was 1 for you, 1 for you, 1 for me, 1 for you, 1 for you, 2 for me, 1 for you, 1 for you, 3 for me, 1 for you, 1 for you, 3, 4 for me. So that's how I was divvying up the money. Anytime I stole a book bag, anytime that I liberated a book bag and there was money in it, anybody that was with me, I was giving money to. Because I'm good like that. So I could have had a lot more. I probably could have walked out of there with like $1,000. But I walked out of there with just enough. I walked out of there with just enough to cover my court fees that would come from getting busted with stolen credit cards on my person. And the reason I got busted with the stolen credit cards was because I was making fun of this girl's face, which isn't very nice, I know, but throughout our entire history together, our relationship was me just calling her fivehead, because she had what you could consider to be a large forehead. So I had this thing where I would pick on her and call her fivehead, which wasn't very nice, and I'm sorry. But not really. I was taking it out. I was taking something. I don't know why. Because I didn't like her and her friends. Why would you do that, though? Like, I don't understand. And why would you take back being sorry? Pride. I apologize, God, for giving someone an insecurity. Because I know that it gave her an insecurity. Because it stuck with her for a while. I ended up getting punched in the face over it. And I ended up spitting in the girl's face over it once. And the most random of places, too. It wasn't random, thank you, Hashem. Now, we were at a rave in Brooklyn, and this girl came up to me, these three girls came up to me. I didn't see them because I was standing on my own. And someone walked up to me and hit me in the back, and I turned around, and there's these three girls, and one of them happened to be that one chick, Fivehead. And the reason why the girl punched me was because she was friends with the two of them, and she told them about me, so they came up to take care of things because they were little gangster bitches. But what they didn't know was that I rolled with the same crew that they did. So after the girl punched me, I'm like, what the fuck? Who the fuck are you guys? And I saw her. I'm like, oh, God. So then they started getting in my face, like, oh, you're going to talk shit about a friend. I was like, you know what? Fuck this shit. And I fucking spit right in the girl's face. Not the Fivehead girl, but the one who was starting to shit with me, the one who hit me. Because one, I don't hit girls, but I will spit in your fucking face if you cross the line, and this one crossed the line. So, but as soon as I did that, she fucking walloped me right in the fucking face. I had got home, got a fucking black eye. My father's starting to ask me, where'd you get a fucking black eye from? Ugh. And then about a week later, after my fucking, my eye healed, after the black eye fucking went away, I got fucking clocked again. My friend, the one I was talking about, when we were at Woodstock and we were walking him back to his tent, we were at a house party together, and someone fed me like a fucking handful of shrooms. It was the first time I ate shrooms. And mind you, I'm no stranger to psychedelics. Like, I ate fucking LSD like it's candy. Especially back then. When I was in my teenage years, drugs. I ate more drugs than I ate food. But I remember at this house party, a friend of mine, he was selling shrooms. He's like, have you ever done shrooms before? I said, no. He's like, all right, put out your hand. And he just fucking filled my hand up with like a nice sized pile of shrooms. I don't know. It was like, it wasn't stems and caps. It was like all broken up. It was like the fucking shit at the bottom of the bag. You're not gonna be able to sell it. Put it like that. So at the time, I was also I had a fucking I had a 40 of Steel Reserve, and so I just fucking popped it back and. Did you trip? Fuck yeah, I fucking tripped. I went hard. But that night, my friend, we were wrestling. I don't know why we were wrestling, but there was a group of us and we were all kind of like fucking around wrestling, I think. I don't know if we were really fighting or not. It's possible that we were, but I know that at one point, because of the drugs in my system, I kind of lost track of what the hell was going on, and all I knew was like this dude, and he's bigger than me. All I know is this fucking big dude's on top of me, and I'm like, what the fuck? So I grabbed his leg. I grabbed his leg right around there, the calf area, and I just fucking bit right into it. And I bit as hard as I could, and it definitely caused some physical discomfort to him because I heard him scream. And then as soon as that happened, he kind of like wiggled himself out from my teeth, flipped me over and then fucking punched me in the face. So the black eye that had just healed, I got another black eye because of it. So, I mean, it is what it is. I would say that I earned it. But it's just like, I just fucking got over having a black eye. Now I gotta fucking explain to my father why I have another one. I can't tell him I was out fucking eating shrooms. So I think I just did my best to avoid him as much as I could. But I mean, at least I can say, like, I can die knowing that at least I can say I had 2 black eyes. At the very least. I think I had a 3rd black eye once from when I was a kid, but that's because a door fucking cracked me in the face. And it was my own fault too. It wasn't, I don't know how the fuck that happened. Oh my God, it hurts so bad. Oh, that's how it happened. So, good memory. Thank you, Hashem. Why is this important? I don't know. We're gonna find out. But I remember my stepfather, he had like a cop flashlight. It was like one of those like really like titanium fucking metal. And I remember my friend, I was having a sleepover with my friend. I had to be about like 10, 11 years old at the time. But the fucking kid, I don't know what the hell happened, but I got fucking hit in the face with it. Or what, did he get hit in the face? No, it wasn't him, it was me, because I remember there was a couple days later, it was still like sore. I think I might have had like a black eye from it. And I was going into my closet to get clothes, and I don't know what the fuck kind of like off shit was going on, but I opened the door right into my face, right into that spot. And I fucking went down. And I got out of going to school that day because I went down crying to my mom. That I needed to take the day off because this was too much. It fucking hurt too bad. Like it was, oh my God, it hurt so much. It hurt enough to make me fucking cry. That's for damn sure. Did that dude give me a black eye too? You got your ass kicked a lot. I did. I did. And maybe that's why I'm not afraid to get my ass kicked. Well, it's like Jesus said, if someone fucking slaps you, give the other cheek. Hey, what do you think you're gonna do? I prefer fights. I'm not a big fighty person. I did try to take a class once in Muay Thai. This way, I used to get fucking hit a lot when I go out drinking. And I'm like, you know what? I need to be able to be in a position where I'm not afraid to beat the shit out of somebody. But that's the thing. I don't like the idea of fighting in the first place. Why? Because one, you don't know who the fuck you're fighting. And I can think of some really fucked up shit. And the last thing I want to do is get into a fight with someone who's gonna fucking bash my fucking face in. I'm vain, and I don't like pain. So I much prefer to not get into a fight, but at the same time, I recognize the value of it. I mean, it's not that I walk around scared of people. I actually come from like the idea, like, you don't got the balls to hit me. The last time some fucking dude hit me, was that the last time? No, the last time the fucking Lenny hit me, I fucking beat the shit out of him. How long was that? God damn it. Alright, never mind.